Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Truth Football Network's YouTube segment. Today, it's just me and Reese, and we're going to be talking about AB being traded to the Raiders after that short little stint of him being with the Bills. Now, I know that I don't have a very positive outlook on this. I don't know if you have a different one, Reese.
No, I'm pretty much similar. I mean, I think for Antonio Brown and for the Raiders, I think it's both kind of a negative. The Raiders really aren't in a position right now to win. At least I don't think so. They're in a tough division. I feel like this is still a team, even with Antonio Brown, that's not a playoff team. Of course, it gives Derek Carr a great weapon, but they also had a great weapon in Amari Cooper when he was there, and they struggled, during that part of the year. And as we were just talking about prior, they went out and gave him that $31 million guaranteed and bumped his contract up. So they're definitely committed to him, that's for sure. I mean, they've shown that for these 3 years, he's going to be a Raider, but I just don't know if it's going to work out that well for him.
Yeah, first and foremost, a third round and a fifth round pick is not that high of compensation for a top three wide receiver, but I think that's a very baseline way to view it. Like, you have to think about the unintended consequences that could occur from this. How is Antonio Brown going to like losing for like the first year in his career pretty much? And then also you're giving a 30-year-old wide receiver $31 million guaranteed over the next 3 years. We all know how quickly wide receivers go downhill, It's like one day they're fine and the next day they're gone. Right.
He's going to taper off. That's for sure. I mean, he was above 100 catches again. I think he had about 1,200 yards receiving this year. So, I mean, that's still definitely really good production. But, I mean, without a doubt, he's a person that relies on his elusiveness and quickness to beat off, because he doesn't have like that size, to beat corners and other DBs. So, I think maybe 2 years into this deal, which, luckily it's only a 3-year, but only 2 years in, I think he's going to be tailing off quite a bit. We could even see a little bit this year where he slows down. And yeah, where's that motivation going to be when, if they do start out, let's say they drop their first couple of games. And this is someone that's had, I would say, a negative impact and probably one of the worst locker rooms in the league. Mm-hmm. So what does he do in John Gruden's locker room there?
And also, John Gruden is kind of known to be a coach that lets things go, kind of in the same way Mike Tomlin is. So, right. AB is just going to be there and pretty much running the place. He said that his next team will play by his rules. How do we even know if he's not going to just retire at halftime? Who was that?
Oh, man. I forgot. It was a player on the Bills, though. It was, it was a corner. Vontae Davis, maybe?
Vontae Davis. Yeah, how do we know that's not going to happen when the Raiders are 0-6 at the beginning of the year? Like, come on. I don't think that it makes a lot of sense, and I don't think that the Raiders have a good enough young core to really be going out and making trades like this and devoting $17 million a year to a player like that. I mean, I don't know if they're trying to go all in this year, because that would make about 0 sense with their moves the previous year. They're just complaining about paying Khalil Mack and trading him to the Chicago Bears, which I'm happy about. But it kind of shows me that this team is still trying to find a direction. And it almost feels like that John Gruden is just making moves out of whatever pops into his head. It doesn't seem like they have a clear plan at all.
Oh, no. Because, exactly. They're doubling back on what they did a year ago. You don't trade your best player and then you go out and make a splash move like this. Doesn't make any sense to me, Mm-hmm. What's the end game? I mean, with this kind of move, this is a team that a move that a team in the playoffs would try to make.
Exactly. I don't know. I can't really remember a trade where I felt like every single party involved lost. It seems like the Steelers didn't get good compensation, right? And then they have $21 million in dead cap. Holy shit, that's terrible. And then the Raiders get Antonio Brown, which is a positive if everything works out. But there's no guarantee it works out. There's a reason you can get him for a third-round pick, And with a locker room that was already having issues last year and players already quitting on the team last year, how do you think that's going to affect Antonio Brown? Okay, and then finally, Antonio Brown, he has to go, live in Oakland for a year.
Yeah.
And then he has to move to Vegas. So it's like, is that really what you want to do?
This is going to seem really typical, but, I was at the barbershop getting get my hair all redone, looking fresh. And me and my barber were actually talking about this a little bit. He's saying that the hiring of John Gruden in this move just doesn't make sense for like that whole Raiders franchise in general. Because you have to think when they move to Vegas, they're going to have excitement whether or not they're a good team or not,
Mm-hmm.
And you make these moves that could be harming you. If you study and you do a rebuild, let's say they continue on from the rebuild they started last year. Okay, they're going to be bad for the first couple of years that they're in Vegas, but then maybe they bounce up, maybe they start becoming a playoff team again, and those ticket sales keep up. This is something that could harm you for 5+ years moving on.
Yeah, no, it really is. And it's like, at first, when the Raiders were making trades of Amari Cooper and Khalil Mack, I still criticized them because they were still young players that I thought they could invest in to help bring up this team and continue the rebuild. I didn't think it was necessary to get rid of them because they're young. That by the time the Raiders were good, Khalil Mack would have been like, 28 or 29 or something?
Right.
Who knows? This is still very young, especially for a pass rusher. And Amari Cooper would have been 27. So that would have made sense, right? If they just kept on them. But I was still fine with them trading them just because the compensation wasn't terrible,
right.
I didn't think. And they still got a couple first-round picks. And, they're going all in on this rebuild. And now a year later, they trade for Antonio Brown. It doesn't make sense. And it just, in my eyes, shows the same John Gruden that we saw leave the NFL, which is one that doesn't have a clear plan, isn't that good at building a roster, can't really talent evaluate that well, and also wants complete control of the team.
Yeah. Well, John Gruden, he won that Super Bowl based off a scheme that he had. And
also it was a good team before that. It was already built when he came in.
It was built, and then he took a scheme that fit really well with the personnel, and the league didn't see it, but then the league quickly adjusted to it, and then that team quickly fell off. So
yeah, exactly. He has no innovative scheme right now. What he does is not all that different than anybody else. You know?
Exactly. So I don't know. I don't understand this move. I don't know who's pulling the strings right now, but it's definitely an all encompassing word for I'd say is short-sighted. I'd say that's the one thing that sums it up.
Definitely. That's a great way to put it. Now I got a question to ask you.
Yeah.
Who do you think's pulling the strings here? Do you think that Mike Mayock is John Gruden's boss, or do you think John Gruden runs the show? Because I think John Gruden runs the show, and I think Mike Mayock is just there to kind of, help him along.
As a figurehead? Yeah, I don't... It's confusing because all these moves started happening as soon as, John Gruden got here. Mike Mayock is relatively new. Now this is a complete 180, though. So maybe John Gruden wanted to rebuild because he was dumping everyone off. And maybe Mike Mayock came in with a different opinion and was like, no, we got to start doing this again. So
could be, but I would not put it past John Gruden not having a clear plan in mind.
Yeah, very true. So I don't know. I think that's really confusing. Actually, that's a really blurred line. Is who is running the show in Oakland is not clear.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And anything else? I think that I feel kind of bad that it seems like every one of our YouTube videos so far, we've just been bashing the team. We promise when when actual good news comes out in free agency, we will be giving some credit to teams. We're not just here to bash teams, but it just so happens that the most recent news we viewed as bad news.
Yeah, we'll be around with some of these good signings that we feel were really good value signings or something that's going to really boost the team up. But I don't know. So far, I think we live in it's a league that's being run on stupid decisions right now. And the teams that are making no decisions or are just, a little bit wiser than the next ones are the ones that are actually contending right now. I think it's pretty clear to see. I don't think the Raiders will be a playoff team. Going back, I forgot who else we've covered in these negative, YouTube. Oh, the Dallas Cowboys.
The Ravens, the Broncos. We've really went in on a couple of teams right now.
And chances are is that one of those teams are probably going to prove us wrong, to be honest. But,
I'm sure.
Well,
just by pure volume.
We'll have to see. It's easy to be a hater in the NFL because it's easy to criticize teams when they first make decisions. So
it is, and ultimately, I mean, I can guarantee you that it's not going to be Jason Witten going back to the Dallas Cowboys. I can guarantee you that right now. But this move, who knows, could possibly work out for the Raiders. And one final thing to say before we go. We apologize. We're not able to put NFL gameplay in the back of our videos because the NFL is, whenever we do that, the NFL is monetizing our content for themselves. So yeah, we don't really want that. We're not monetizing it to begin with, but still, we don't really want that. We like to keep our content, so we have to put these pictures in the background.
Yeah, but enjoy the video, and we'll be doing our best to improve them in whatever ways we can, minus highlights, which would be optimal, but we're going to find our best possible alternative.
Maybe we'll be able to figure out a way to do that eventually. But for right now, go ahead and check out the podcast. You can find that in the description below. We go into more depth with these topics every single week. And I think that we go in a lot more depth and we share more of our opinion in that as well. And also subscribe so you can get more content like this. We're going to be trying to upload YouTube content as much as possible now. So, yeah, I think that's about it.
Yep. Have a good one.
All right, see you later, guys.